This podcast is certified fresh. Freshmediaworks.com.
Hey everybody, welcome back to The Marketing Drive. I'm Chris Daly, and this is the show where I use my commute time to talk about one actionable marketing idea, one tip, one trick, one tidbit to help you get more customers, make more money. Today I want to talk about marketing itself. And my point today is that bad marketing usually shows up before the marketing starts. I recently had a conversation with somebody pitching a marketing-related partnership idea. I'm not going to mention names or companies because that's not the point. The point is the lesson. On the surface, the offer sounded interesting enough, right? But the more he talked, the more obvious it became that the marketing behind the offer was weak. Not just imperfect, it was weak. And that matters because if someone cannot market their own offer, especially as a marketer, why in the world would you trust them to market yours? First lesson from the call is the pitch is part of the proof, right? When someone is selling marketing services, their own sales process is part of their portfolio. Their email is marketing. Their one-pager is marketing. Their phone call is marketing. The clarity is marketing. Their follow-up is marketing. Their positioning is marketing. If those things are sloppy, vague, rambly, confusing, or just poorly thought out, then that tells you something. A lot of people want you to separate the pitch from the service. They want you to think, well, maybe I'm sort of bad at explaining it, but really good at doing it. No, not in marketing. In marketing, how you communicate the value is a huge part of that value. If your pitch is fuzzy, your offer is probably fuzzy. If your thinking is sloppy, well, your service is going to be sloppy. If your one-pager feels generic and weak, very good chance the fulfillment will be generic and weak. Lesson 2, the vague offers, they're a warning sign, right? One of the biggest problems with weak marketing is that it leans on broad labels instead of meaningful specifics. You'll hear phrases like, we handle all your social media. We do content creation. We build your brand. We help you grow. Okay. How? How many posts? Which platforms? What kind of content? Who writes it? Who approves it? What happens if we need revisions? What's included? What's not included? You know, when an offer is vague, the seller often hopes your imagination will fill in the blanks with something amazing, something impressive, right? Well, that's dangerous because in business, vagueness almost always benefits the seller, not the buyer. A strong offer gets clearer the longer you look at it. A weak offer gets foggier. Lesson 3, if a person talks too much, they may not understand the sale, or at least sales, right? Another thing that stood out to me on that phone call was he rambled. He rambled on and on. It felt very unpracticed, and he talked way too much. That's a huge mistake. Some people think talking more equals selling more, but it's exactly the opposite, right? They're trying to convince you with volume since they can't convince you with precision. Strong salespeople usually are more disciplined than that. They know what their offer is. They know the pain point. They know the outcome. They know the objections. They know, more importantly, when to stop talking. Rambling, it's often a sign that someone has not truly tightened that message down. Next lesson, disrespect can come from inexperience, not intention. And I was a little slighted in this call, right? He made a comment along the lines of, a lot of marketing agencies are run by old people. Yeah. So who wouldn't want a college student who's habitually online handling all their social media? Well, I don't think he was trying to insult me. I don't think he knew any better, right? I think he was that immature. What I think actually happened, he was too inexperienced, too immature to understand how bad that could come across to people. First, it insults the very people he's trying to sell to. That's never a smart first step, right? Second, it confuses being online with understanding marketing. Not the same thing, not even close. Being habitually online does not automatically mean that you understand brand positioning, buyer psychology, persuasion, messaging, offer creation, audience targeting, conversion strategy, customer journey, follow-up systems, anything like that. There are a lot of people online all day who know nothing about marketing. So take that out of your conversation if you're using it. And there's a lot of people who are experienced marketers, experienced business people who don't spend much time online. They don't have to, right? Next lesson, attention to detail is part of your branding. And your branding is important if you're trying to sell yourself, promoting their branding. Another thing that jumped out to me, he sent a one-pager after our phone call, right, that explained their offer. Even the file name had one of those little signs in it that you could tell he had just exported and re-exported and renamed and you know, instead of cleaning it up and giving it a simple name. Now is a file name, is that a deal breaker? No, of course not. But it tells a little bit. And business is full of those little tells, right? The small things often reveal the big things. A sloppy file name, maybe some awkward copy, which this one did have, generic wording, a weak structure, weirdly capitalized things in it, no real specificity, no polished flow. And those things stack up, you know, between the phone call and the one-pager. You're reaching a level where you're like, I don't know that you can produce anything professional, right? So, and that's why I'm talking about him instead of hiring him, right? And the next lesson, if the offer requires trust, the presentation must earn trust. When somebody wants to work with you under your banner in front of your clients, that's huge. They're not just selling a service, they're asking for borrowed trust. And borrowed trust is expensive. You do not get that with a weak one-pager and a rambling pitch. You just don't. You get that by being sharp, being specific, being credible, being polished, and being respectful. I'm not going to hand somebody access to my reputation, right? I need to feel much more confident after that conversation, not less. So I'm not saying you can totally judge somebody by what they've pitched to you, but if they are pitching their ability to pitch, then yeah, take that as a sign. You know, if their presentation is confused, expect confusion on their delivery. If their presentation is weak, expect weak execution. If the thinking is shallow, expect shallow results. That's why strong marketers are not just selling services. They're constantly demonstrating their competence in how they speak, how they write, how they position, how they follow up. And I guess the simplest way to sum it all up is if somebody cannot convincingly market their own marketing to you, don't let them near you or your clients, all right? Thank you so much. Pay attention to the pitches you're receiving, but more importantly, your biggest takeaway should be pay attention to the pitches you're putting out there. Your opening call, do you know what you're talking about? Do you sound confident? Do you understand it? Are you rambling because you are afraid of the silence? Fix all that and fix your one page, fix your email that goes up to them. Make sure it is bulletproof and you'll get more clients. As always, hey, thanks for listening and keep it real.
You've been listening to The Marketing Drive with Chris Daly. To learn more about how Chris can help your company get more customers, call 713-269-4620 or visit us on the web at freshmediaworks.com.